Yo, what's good, y'all? What's goody? Gervonta Davis does it again. Spectacular knockout versus Frank Martin. Eighth round knockout. It was a good card for Amazon Prime. And Tank, he really showed his dominance in this fight with Frank Martin. Frank Martin jumped out to an early lead, winning the first three rounds. And then Tank in the fourth round and on started to have more and more success and eventually ended up knocking out Frank Martin in one knockdown. Frank wasn't able to get up. He got hit real clean in the corner on the ropes. At first, it was an uppercut that had Frank stuck on the ropes, and then he hit him one more time with the straight left, and it was over. He got hit too clean. Frank Martin could not recover. Like I say, Frank Martin was doing well, winning the first three rounds and having moments in the other rounds leading up to the knockout. But Tank was touching him to the body in the beginning of the fight, which eventually slowed Martin down. Martin was using foot movement, trying to outbox Tank for the whole fight, but getting hit and stuff, man, he just wore down and got tired. And really bad mistakes trying to lead Tank in for counters on the ropes that really backfired on him. What's good, Jared? Yep, I agree with you. Martin just got wore down. Tank improves to 30-0, I think 28 knockouts now. He retains the WBA championship. And the whole card was kind of nice. We had upsets yesterday as well. Gary Antoine Russell was upset by Alberto Puello. And Gervonta Matias on DAZN got upset by Liam Paro. Two fights, two upsets that we did not see coming. David Benavidez moving up to 175 could not get the knockout on Alexander Gvozdyk. But he looked it good, though. He won every round. He wanted the knockout, but it just never came. He fought Gvozdyk, who was actually bigger than him. Benavidez was the smaller man, and, he put in that work. But back to Tank Davis, man, I don't know what to tell people, man. Tank may be looking like the best fighter at 135, in my opinion. The fight that we need to see to really stamp that would be Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. But they say that Tank Davis will be going into a fight with Lomachenko by the end of this year. Bob Arum say that they were in talks with the fight leading up to this fight. And they say that talks will resume with Gervonta Davis versus Vasily Lomachenko for November in about a week. But yeah, man, I was really impressed with Tank, with the way that he was cutting off the ring on Frank Martin. He didn't have no problems keeping Frank Martin in front of him so he can land his work. First three rounds, he didn't throw a lot of punches, but he started to come on. He went to the body, which led to the headshots being open. He showed good ring IQ, good footwork. And I think that was a A performance from Tank Davis, especially with the way that he was able to cut off that ring. He really was hurting Frank Martin in the corners and timing him as he bounced off the ropes. You know, he got the 8th round knockout. And after the fight, for some reason, Floyd Mayweather released footage of Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis sparring from back in the day, where Devin Haney, you can say, kind of dominated Tank, which is odd, which kind of confirms that Tank Davis and Floyd Mayweather is actually beefing. Tank Davis for sure must not be under Floyd Mayweather no more with stuff like this going on. And there was rumors that Leonard Ellerbe actually is working for Tank's promotional company now instead of Floyd Mayweather's. So maybe that has something to do with it. But it was Tank's night last night, man. I got to give it to him. The fight kind of went how I thought it would go. Frank Martin winning the first 3 rounds and then Tank turning up in the 4th on back. You know, but he kind of got him out of there earlier than I thought. I thought Frank Martin would last about 10, 11 rounds. Tank got him out of there in 8. So that's a great performance for him. And Tank is talking about unifying now. You never usually see him chasing after belts, but that looked like that might be the route that he will be taking. And you got to give him props for that. Yeah, the card was good, man, especially with those upsets. But yeah, I agree with you, Jared. You know, they've been calling Tank elite though before this Frank Martin fight. But you know, there's still gonna be people out there not giving Tank credit because of Frank Martin was never a champion and stuff like that. He's less experienced, but you know, I thought highly of Frank, even though Frank didn't do well in his last fight, but I think Frank did do a good job. You know, people say that Frank only came to survive, but that was after he was getting touched to the body and stuff. That stuff was slowing him down. Frank didn't want to throw that jab out there no more, nothing like that. You know, he discouraged Frank. And Tank Davis, he's kind of like Bud to me, man, because when Tank was first countering Frank Martin, he was throwing that uppercut to the body. Like he know how to disguise his punches to where you don't know if he's going up top or if he's going to the bottom with it. You know? And I think that those uppercuts he was landing in like the 4th, 5th round to the body kind of wore down on Frank. And Frank went to moving more sporadically, using way more movement than I thought that he should have than he was in the first 3 rounds. So you kind of seen that it was gonna be over soon. And he kept getting trapped on the ropes, kept getting trapped in the corner. You don't do that against Tank Davis. Because with your back on the ropes and in the corner, especially in the corner, you giving him free shots. And Frank wasn't countering enough. And Tank just kind of took over the fight. Frank landed some good shots, but Tank kind of ate those shots and kept coming forward nonstop. It's been a while since I seen Tank really coming forward the whole entire fight like that. You know, he kind of bullied Frank Martin the whole night. And Frank, he has to go back to the drawing board now. I think his options probably would be like De Los Santos and Rayo them. I think Frank seems like the type, he'll probably take another tough fight after this. But when Tank hit Frank, I kind of knew it was over, man, because Frank was looking up at the lights. His body wasn't even moving. His head was moving, but his body wasn't moving. They wasn't working together. Like his body was real stiff, but his eyes was open. And it was like, nah. His body was like, nah, we can't do it, bro. He wanted to get up. He didn't quit. It is what it is, man. But I hope Tank versus Shakur Stevenson gets made very soon. You know, I would expect Tank to beat Loma as well, probably knock Loma out as well. Shakur Stevenson fights in like a couple weeks, probably 3 weeks. We'll have to see what Shakur makes, what move Shakur makes after that, because that's his last fight with Top Rank. Is he going to sign back or is he going to go to PBC? Who knows? I mean, it seems like he can stay at Top Rank and get the fight because Bob Arum, he's negotiating for Loma to get Tank. You know, it seemed like he could be able to do the same for Shakur Stevenson, but Shakur got a lot of pressure on himself for this fight, fighting Artem Hardatuyan, the guy who actually gave Frank a very tough time in his fight before Tank. And Shakur Stevenson cannot look like how he did against De Los Santos. And then that'll really turn the fans off. Like they don't really want to see him fight Tank. Because Shakur Stevenson used excessive movement in his fight with De Los Santos. He looked this super bad. But that's still the top fight I want to see for Tank. Because, you know, I feel like Shakur is arguably the best fighter in the division besides Tank. He's fresher than Lomachenko. He's got his O. He's got his legacy. He's going to make a lot of money, a lot of legacy, unify. You know, he's got everything to offer. But a lot of stuff going on this week. Ryan Garcia made sure he did something stupid at the fight to get some attention on him. Him and Caleb Plant in the crowd about to fight because Ryan claims to have did the nasty with Caleb Plant's wife. He said that about a couple people. Caleb Plant threw a beer his way. They was about to fight in the crowd. Ryan's just being stupid, man, ever since the whole PED thing. They trying to prolong it. They're trying to prolong it to try to get attention off of Ryan. Ryan keeps doing dumb stuff back to back to get people attention off of it. But it doesn't seem like Ryan is getting a lot of credit for the Devin Haney win, seeing that he popped dirty for his B sample for Austrain. And when he tried to prove his innocence, saying what supplements had Austrain in it that probably contaminated him, the people from the companies that he blamed came out and saying that Ryan is a liar. We don't have Austrain in our products. So it looks like Ryan is losing on all fronts when it comes to the PED scandal. But future fights for Tank, like I say, Lomachenko looks like he's about to be next for Tank Davis. If not Shakur Stevenson, I don't really know where Tank goes after that. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Tank fight Pitbull again. Pitbull looked it very strong against Rolly. And that is a fight that a lot of people, I guess, asking for again because Pitbull gave Tank a very good run for his money. But if Tank was to fight Pitbull again, I would want to see it at 140. Because Pitbull looks like he's got more of a chance at 140. Pitbull is bigger, stronger, looking more destructive at 140, and Tank has less power at 140, in my opinion. Tank doesn't have that one punch knockout power at 140. From what I've seen in that one fight he fought at 140 against Mario Barrios. So he's going to have to work harder to keep Pitbull off of him. That's just like a realistic fight that I'd ask for because I don't know. I don't think Tank would move up to fight Devin Haney. Who else? Tiafimo with Top Rank. I don't think Top Rank would want to negotiate with Tio like how they doing with Lomachenko for Tank Davis. I don't think Tank Davis really has his eyes on Tiafimo Lopez like that. That'll be a good fight. Tank and all the champions up there would be a good fight, but I think Pitbull would probably have the best chance of getting the Tank fight at 140 if he was to move up. But at 135, I think Lomachenko and Shakur is probably his only two fights that he probably realistically would do. Blue Blood just made a post saying that Gervonta Davis is actually preparing for Lomachenko as we speak. So it sounds like that might be next. That's a good fight or whatever. People are going to say Loma too old, but I'd take it. I mean, Loma ain't no nobody. And he looked it good against Kambosos, winning every round and stopping Kambosos in the 11th round. So I'd take it. I never criticized Tank for Frank Martin either, because I was high on Frank Martin. So that's a good win for his resume. And you can go fight Loma. But the future is looking very bright for Tank. Tank is how old? 29. Got some years left for prime. Tank looking like he can be a real top dog for years to come. Well, he's the top dog at 135, in my opinion, right now. I would pick him over, I guess, everybody. Shakur Stevenson, it probably has the best chance of beating him. But I feel like Shakur needs to learn how to deal with power better than he has been doing in his career to really beat Tank. Because if he get in there with Tank and the fight look like what he did with De Los Santos, I highly doubt he gets that decision. You gotta really fuck Tank up a little bit. You ain't gotta knock him out, but you gotta look good to really get that decision. Because Tank is a far bigger star than Shakur Stevenson. And if the fight is close, I would assume Tank would get that fight. So Shakur has a little bit to work on before he jump in there with Tank Davis. That's why I hope he really looks good in this Artem fight. For people to be clamoring for the Tank Davis fight. Like how I am right now. Like I still like even though Shakur looked it bad against De Los Santos, that's like my top fight for Tank. But a lot of the casual fans that Tank Davis carries, they're gonna be like, fuck that runner. Like we don't really want to see Shakur or whatever. You gotta make him a believer. Because Shakur's last 4 fights before that De Los Santos fight, that man was looking like an animal. That man was looking like an animal. He was stopping people, walking to people. That Shakur Stevenson in the ring with Tank could win. Seriously, man. Shakur looked like damn near the best fighter in the sport. And Shakur's got to get back to that. At least one more virtuoso to get that Tank fight to make it sellable. I think it'll sell regardless because all the boxing fans know Shakur Stevenson, know what he's capable of. So we'll support that fight, but it is what it is. A lot of people ain't gonna really want that, seeing what Shakur did with De Los Santos. But yeah, though, man, I had to come on and give Tank his props, man. Even though this was kind of my prediction of the fight, I didn't drop it on here, but that's what I was telling people I was watching it with. Frank Martin win the first 3 rounds. People that was asking me about the fight, Frank Martin win the first 3 rounds, then Tank gonna turn up. He's gonna take over the fight and then stop him. And that's what happened. I thought Tank would get him out in 10. He got him out in 8. And Gervonta Davis, the WBA super champion, moves on to bigger and better things in his career. And let's see what's next for him.